the most magnetic feminine quality that I forgot to tell you about. I have about 10 minutes. Let's talk about it. So, the most magnetic feminine quality that anyone can embody, right, is not looks. It's not your weight. It's not your intellect. It's not your job, your career, how many kids you have or don't have, where you've been in your life, whether you're wealthy, whether you're poor. It doesn't matter. The thing that is the most magnetic quality that a woman can embody is warmth. And the reason it can be so elusive is because it's not a tangible quality. It's not a quality that you can pick up a book and learn about. It's not a quality that you can take a supplement and have more of. This is a quality that must be felt and curated and developed over time as a woman grows. And actually, you can sometimes see it in younger kids before the age of 7, but really the warmth that a woman has, and when she can embody that warmth and when she can radiate that warmth, it is like the honey to the bees. It is like the most magnetic force field ever. And the reason I say it's so magnetic is because it is also really rare, especially in our current society where there's the more ambition and more drive. And there's this assumption that if you work in certain fields or if you assume certain roles, that the warmth has to go away. And as a defense mechanism and a protective mechanism, the interpersonal relationship wounding that can happen with us at a young age creates this idea that if we armor up via being cold or even by being, what's the word I'm looking for, aloof, that it protects us. And in some ways it really does, right? Because we only do the things that are super effective for us, even if it's subconsciously super effective. So there's these ideas of like an ice queen or like the boss that's very hard and straightforward and, strict. And here's the deal. Warmth has nothing to do with kindness, and warmth has nothing to do with intelligence or power, even. I would say warmth is even more powerful than intellect and money combined. It's the thing that transcends everything else. So I realized this one time when my husband and I were having a disagreement. And when we came back together, because we took some space and gathered ourselves and then came back together, and he said something to me that pierced me. He said, when we argue, it feels like you go cold, and your warmth is something that is so deeply inspiring for me. And when I feel you go cold, I feel like I've lost you. And when I really sat with that, he didn't say you get mean when you argue, because I try my best not to. He didn't say, you get snappy or you get belligerent or anything like that. Like the words I was saying was not what hurt him. The content of my thoughts and feelings were not the thing. Even the thing that we were arguing about itself was not the thing. The thing for him was that in a moment when I felt like I might be hurt or I might be at risk of being rejected or abandoned, right? Subconsciously, I armored up by removing the warmth. And a switch flipped in me that day because I suddenly replayed all of these conversation the lifetime of my life and career as well, because I've been in the field of human behavior and psychology for 20 years now, over 20 years. And I have always wondered, what it was about me that helped me to be really effective at my job and when I had a job and in my work now. And the through line came to my awareness in that moment when he said it. And the thing was, it's a heart forward. I deeply care about you and I deeply care about me, no matter what kind of warmth. Now, you might not hear me when I say this at first, but I'm going to say it anyway. And it's okay if you're not in a position to hear it. This warmth does not mean that you lower your standards. It does not mean that you lose yourself. It does not mean that you acquiesce. In fact, this warmth, when you embody it, is so magnetic that it is going to ask you to be so much more discerning. It's going to ask you to courageously bring your heart forward, even in the moments when you must say no to someone, or you must fire someone, or you must cut someone from the team, or you must deliver bad news. And I remember this really powerfully because I coached a woman once who was leading a team at a company, and she messaged me and she was like, Katie, I have to deliver bad news. I don't know how to say it. This is what I need to, this is what needs to happen. 2 people need to be let go of, and I need to rally everybody else around the standards that we're setting as a company going forward. She said, when you speak and you tell someone no, it feels like a hug. Can you teach me how to do that? And I didn't quite fully understand what she meant when she sent me that message probably 4 years ago now. But when my husband reflected that back to me, when my husband said, your warmth is the thing, I replayed those conversations, and I replayed conversations that I had when I worked in prison, and I had to let inmates know that their families were not coming, or that their case had been dismissed in terms of their request to have their time shortened, or that they weren't getting what they needed in that moment because of the forces at play. And I remember really bringing my heart forward when I needed to deliver those messages, because I even get emotional thinking about it now. I can feel and sense that this is just as uncomfortable for them, even more so than it is for me to deliver the message. And I know that I am carrying forward communication that needs to happen, and it's in the best interest of everyone that I communicate it, and it's also in the best interest of everyone that I communicate it from a place of full presence and heart opening and warmth. Because at the end of the day, no matter who you're dealing with, they have feelings too. And I don't know what you believe, but I believe that every living, breathing being is worthy of respect. And respect is different than attention, and respect is different than time. But I do believe that every living being deserves respect. And so when you decide that you are going to embody and practice embodying this ultramagnetic feminine quality of warmth, I want to encourage you to begin listening to your intuition ever more closely, closer than you ever have before. Because like I said earlier in the video, when you amplify your warmth, you are going to need to amplify your discernment as well, because warmth works just like fire. And what I mean by that is fire within the context of I've lit a flame and now everybody wants to be around it and wants it for different reasons, right? Some people want the fire to cook. Some people want the fire to warm them up. Some bugs want to fly into the fire because they don't know any better, right? Some people think that they can handle being super close to it, and they can't. So as soon as you begin to become magnetic via your warmth, it is universal law that you will attract everything that is attracted to warmth. And so to affirm, right? I listen sometimes to these YouTube mantras that are like, I am so magnetic. And I always want to add like an asterisk, right? At the end of that says, I am super magnetic and I am also discerning. Because for the sake of the fire itself, and for the sake of the person who's wanting to engage with the fire, there are ways of engaging and standards of engaging that protect everybody. So if warmth and increasing your warmth is something that speaks to you, I encourage you to also reflect on your discernment and reflect on your standards for how close people get to the fire and who to keep away from the fire, right? And I'll leave you with this. There's one episode of Keeping Up with the Kardashians, and it's an episode, gosh, I wish I remembered what season it was, but this was also something that's just etched in my memory. Kris is going to order the gingerbread houses that she gets for the kids every year. And she's having them designed by this professional designer. And she gives the concept to the designer, and the designer takes it and starts building the houses and decorating them. And Kris comes back to check on the houses and the progress of them. And the houses are nothing like what Kris was imagining. Okay. Now, Kris, who is wealthy, powerful, has status, right, has every reason in the world as to why she could be cold and straightforward and non-emotional. And what happens in this episode is you watch Kris say, well, these are the houses. And the woman goes, yeah, these are the houses. And she goes, this is nothing like what I was expecting. This is not going to work for me. And Kris delivers this no with so much warmth and so much neutrality that it was like an eye opener for me, because the woman immediately goes, no, okay, we'll change it up. You know what I mean? But there was nothing attached to her delivery of that response. And that's one of the things that I think gets missed in these conversations around boundaries and standards and things like that, is that a boundary is meant to facilitate relationships and to facilitate communication in a way that empowers everybody to win. And so if you can incorporate warmth and you can be anchored in your warmth whilst delivering the message that must be delivered in order to create the reality that you are creating, you will absolutely change the way that the world perceives you and also the way that the world treats you. So if you plan to play with this idea of warmth, let me know in the comments how and also what you're creating. I love you so much. Have a great day.